Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Left in Kentucky. Here for another exciting episode. I am Roberto Henriquez,
Hey everybody, Ann Dickerson here.
and we are so glad you are joining us. We appreciate you very much, and love that you join us for these conversations.
Absolutely.
Yep. So as has been the case so far this year, it was another quiet week with not much going on. We're really having to like dig around to find things to talk about. So
Yeah, can I just say I would give just about anything right now for a quiet week. I'd take 2 days in a row.
I'll take 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just exhausted. It was like, ugh.
But we have some great stuff going on.
Yes, we do.
We had a great in-person meeting this past Sunday. Appreciate everybody coming out for that. Really good sized crowd. We ended up with we had about 50 people in person and about 15 people online for that.
Yeah, yeah. And that was, it was not just well attended. From what we're seeing with, um, people starting to follow us on various social media and asking to be a part of private groups or getting a hold of us via email and wanting to ask how they can get involved. It's rippling out,
Yeah.
as more and more people come to find out, hey, they're back up and running, or new people, wow, I didn't know a group like this existed in our area. It's just everything is just really taken off.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's really great. It was a great meeting. Lots of really good input. I think it's nice for people to have a forum where they can, express some of their concerns, but ask questions to get clarification on what different things mean and what's happening and what they can do. So it was really great, seeing some folks we hadn't seen in a while. And yeah, it was a good one.
Well, and not only that, I mean, I think, because of where we're located in northern Kentucky, we get a wide variety of people from, um, further away than you would think.
Hmm.
We have always traditionally covered Congressional District 4 as a whole, but obviously, I mean, it takes hours just to
Yeah.
get from one end to the other. But we've had people drive in from other counties, to take part in this. And one of the things that I really like is, not only do they come to ask questions, but people are like, um, I have this area of knowledge, I have
Hmm.
this area of expertise that I can contribute and I can help, and I want to help this group in this area. And we need that, and we need to,
Absolutely.
take all that in, and we greatly value those different experiences. And we have a significant amount of people who follow us, who are part of the group, and who do come to the meetings that are coming across the river from Ohio.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Wasn't it somebody from Bracken County that brought some expertise about
yes,
water and some
yes,
pollution issues?
yeah,
That was great having that insight.
yes, it was. And heaven help me, I don't remember her name, but she was spectacular.
Yeah.
Um, I hope she listens at some point and knows that we greatly valued her input. But there were representatives, from various communities that in the past, like when we went through this the first time around, um, there were pockets where no matter how hard we tried, we didn't always reach into or certain communities.
Hmm.
And now it's like those are the communities that are coming to us now, which I
Right.
really appreciate, because there was also the couple from Villa Hills that had a lot of
Yeah.
great insight. There were people from Boone County, God love them, You'll understand why we're laughing a little later in the program, who, we're just like, oh, whenever we
Yep.
mention something specific, they're just beside themselves. Um, but it probably, I think, one of the best meetings we've ever held.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I really enjoyed it a lot.
Yep. It was great. And then we springboarded right off of that into protest last night or yesterday afternoon outside Thomas Massie's office in Crescent Springs. And yeah, that was really well attended. We had around 100 or so people there and lots of support. And I know, Ann, you had a couple of interesting stories that popped up from that.
Yeah, I mean, both time, and I keep comparing between what it was like going through this the first time versus now.
Hmm.
And it wasn't that we didn't have a significant amount of support the first time around, because we did. It's just this time feels different. It feels much more diverse
Hmm.
in age and area and everything, in terms of people coming to us and joining with us, and the way that people are coming to us and joining with us. We had several people at Mitch McConnell's protest on the 10th who they were driving by and just saw us there and were like, "Oh, I got to be a part of this." And they pulled over and parked wherever they could and walked over to find out who we were and joined us in protest. Well, the same thing happened yesterday, which was even more difficult because of the layout of the land. You
Right.
know, I mean, the hard part about protesting in front of McConnell's office is that, you're all on this sidewalk and there is no room
No.
to step back or step forward.
And
Because
it's
if,
right on 25. So you've got people going, I know the speed limit's only 35 through there, but people go 45, 50 miles an hour down
oh yeah,
25, and they are inches away from you. It can
right.
get pretty scary.
Right. And if you take a step back, chances are you're going to roll down the hill.
Hmm.
If you take a step forward, you're going into traffic. I mean, it really is that tight, but it's very level,
Hmm.
easy to spread out on. It's more difficult when, because we always make sure that everybody understands the one rule is you cannot impede traffic, which means if
Right.
anybody wants to walk by, run by, ride their bike, we have to get out of the way to allow them to pass.
Yep.
Well, the difference at the Buttermilk Pike location, where Thomas Massie's office is, inside the Tobin building. And can I just say it really sucks that our members of Congress hide themselves inside private property
Yeah.
as opposed to being on, you know, federal property, which would be public property. It makes it much more difficult to interact with them, and they
Right.
know
It creates a barrier. It's an
it. Yes.
intention to create a barrier.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, our office is open, but our office exists inside of private property, which you have to get permission to be on.
Right. I mean, we did have yesterday somebody who was obviously blowing smoke, who threatened that they were going to call a wrecker and start investigating the cars in the parking lot and having them towed, this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like,
Knock
uh,
yourself out.
knock yourself out, cause we gave everybody plenty of public parking places to go to. I also want to give a shout out to the amazing Jennifer Sierra, who last year ran for state senate.
Hmm.
She lives in Villa Hills. Her business is in Villa Hills, and she gave us permission to use her parking spots.
That's great. Yeah.
And so, huge shout
Thank you
out
for
to
that.
her. Yeah, that was very helpful. Along with, there's a park and ride over
Right.
there that is, very easy walk to get to where we were. But anyway, the sidewalk over there is so broken up because
There's a bunch
yeah,
of little strip malls and stores and stuff, so
right,
so you have all
right.
these driveways going through the sidewalk.
Right. And so you've got like this little chunk here and then another little section. Then you have a little bit bigger section and another section. And so we were spread out on like, I don't know, 4 or 5 different sections of sidewalk. And it's not level like in front of McConnell's office.
Hmm.
It you start up on the hill and it, slopes down.
Right.
The number of times that I walked back and forth, I definitely got my steps in yesterday.
Nice.
But it was great. I mean, one of the best experiences in terms of protesting. Um, Two things that happened that really touched me yesterday were we we had this woman that I didn't recognize, not that I always recognize everybody, but we had this woman that I didn't recognize, young woman, walk up and she's crying. I mean, she has tears running down her
Wow.
face. I was like, "Are you okay?" And she looked at me and she's like, "This is just so wonderful." And I was like, "My gosh, you know?"
Hmm.
And I couldn't really talk to her any longer in that moment.
Right.
So I waited until almost the end and went back to her to find out, I introduced myself and she had talked to other people and found out who we were as a group and
Right.
all what we were doing and everything. But I asked her, I said, I was so concerned because you walked up and you were so emotional. And so she begins to tell me that her husband was driving by like early because we started at 4:30
Hmm.
and he was taking their child to some after school activity and called her and said, "You're not going to believe this. They're protesting on Buttermilk Pike." And so she hurried up and grabbed a bunch of stuff and ran to her car to come and see what we were doing. Well, come to find out, she's a federal worker.
Oh man.
And I got goosebumps just now
Yeah.
just saying that. And I don't want to delve into her story any more than that,
Right.
but she was profoundly moved by the fact that we were out there and protesting and the things that we were talking about. She wanted to join in. Lo and behold, what she grabbed as she was on her way out the door was a whole bunch of poster making supplies. So she comes and she's just looking up and down the street. She's got these tears. She plops herself down in the grass behind the sidewalk and just starts making signs.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, and is not only one for herself, but she's handing them to people who also came and didn't have any signs.
Oh wow.
And
Amazing.
so, I mean, just incredible, incredible stuff.
See that's one of those activist go kits. I have poster making supplies.
Right. Well, and I've
Or a
asked.
teacher. Or a teacher.
Right. Well, I've actually had people ask me, "And what's in your go bag?"
Uh-huh.
And that's the first thing I tell them, sign making supplies.
Yeah.
Um but anyway, so and then another thing that I wanted to mention, there was this lovely, just lovely girl with Down's syndrome who
Hmm.
was there with her mom and she was sitting on the ground and she wanted to be there. She was old enough to, have a conversation with and
Right.
everything like that. And but what killed me was she's holding this sign and it says, "Look me in the eye and tell me you are cutting special education." God,
Wow.
my heart was ripped out of my chest. How
Wow.
how profound
Yeah.
that Thomas Massie can look these kids in the eye. And his response to our protest was he stands by his bill to get rid of the Department of Education. Um, Her mom was standing with her, and her sign said, "Don't steal from kids to give billionaires a tax break." Because that's
Wow.
what they're doing. They're
Yeah.
stealing from children. So we did have coverage from WLWT, which is Channel 5 News out of Cincinnati. Um, so that was good because we were on the 11 o'clock news last night and then replayed today during the 5:30 hour this morning, during the 6 o'clock hour this morning,
You
and
were
then
not up at 6 o'clock this morning.
you know better than that. I hadn't been to bed yet. So, I mean, all in all, it was an excellent outing for us because we were so visible and I people seem to now more than ever appreciate that.
Yeah. And that's something that we kind of mentioned last week. We talked about how a lot of the folks on the inside of the system, they can be emboldened and encouraged to stay inside the system and try to fight when they see people on the outside protesting and supporting them and saying,
Yes,
you know, saying this is wrong, this needs to stop.
right.
So,
And then, the other thing is that when you see folks who are still supporting this because the hurt hasn't hit them yet, right?
mhm.
Talking about, ooh, this is the kind of stuff I see on social media. All your communist friends got fired. Yeah, okay. First off, what people need to know is that there are over 23,000 federal employees in the state of Kentucky. So
That's
I
just
want,
the state of Kentucky.
right. So I want you to imagine, though, what it would do to the economy in the state of Kentucky if all of a sudden over 23,000 people were out of work.
Yep.
Because that's going to take a mighty big toll.
Yeah. And these are
Um,
people from all walks of life, from all political
well, and that's what I tried to
backgrounds,
explain. Right,
non-political people. I mean, lots of times the people aren't really that political at all. They just have a job. They're just trying to
right,
make a living.
right, right. And that's what I always try to explain to people. Like, it's like, look, these are your neighbors, your friends, your family members, who you're calling communists and saying that they were somehow defrauding the government.
Yeah.
These are people who have never had a negative performance review ever
Right.
and are just,
I mean,
like you said,
they're firing people that have been like 16 years in their positions
or
and
more.
or
Yeah,
more and have never, like you said, never had a bad performance review, always had great performance reviews. And if they've been in these positions for 16 years, that means they were there during the last uh, go around with Trump as well. So I mean, they've been there through lots of administrations, lots of different policies. Again, they're just trying to get their job done. It's just your neighbors, just like you or me, going to our job,
right.
trying to get our job done.
Yeah, you know, I, I feel like the way that all of this was approached, well, we know this,
Hmm.
was very deliberate in that it painted everything in these huge, vague strokes of the government being this is just a monstrosity. This is a
Right.
behemoth that needs to be cut down, blah, 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 without ever considering the people impact, and the
Yep.
people involved. And all of a sudden now, I mean, don't get me wrong, the naysayers are less and less.
Right.
I even had on social media posts yesterday, two people respond to things that I had said where they were the first thing out of their mouths was, just so you know, I'm a Republican and I agree with you. And I'm like,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
we're only in February. Took a lot longer to get there the first time around.
We're only in the year of February now.
Right, right. I saw a video yesterday of two Trump supporters in it's one of their backyards, two of them holding up this ginormous Trump 2024 flag, and they burned it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, things are
Yeah.
jumping off. Buyer's remorse is fully starting to set in. Um, and it's happening much more quickly than it did the last time.
Yeah. So next thing coming up, because again, we can't go any days without anything going on.
Right.
This Friday, the 28th, is the economic blackout. That's where we're encouraging, and it's not just we, it's this is all across the country. Um,
And
the
every group you can think of is supporting this.
Yeah.
My favorite graphic I saw today about this was from BAT. Do you know who
Hmm.
they are?
Mm-mm.
Badass teachers.
Nice.
I know. They go
Badass
by,
teachers.
yeah, and since they go by BAT, their symbol is a bat and I freaking love it.
That's great.
But yeah, it's nationwide. It is definitely going to have an economic impact. The ask is that people spend no money on Friday if it's possible. I mean, obviously, if you have to, you have to go buy your medicine. You have to, for you can't maybe get to the store on Thursday or wait until Saturday. You have to eat. You have to go to the store. What we're asking is, obviously do those emergency purchases, but outside of that, if when you do have to go buy something, if you can, if at all possible, don't use a credit card, use cash,
Right. Pay cash.
and give your patronage to independent local businesses.
Right. Small local businesses. And that's one thing that, when I first heard about this, I really, somebody was like, oh, don't buy anything on Friday. Don't eat out, don't go anywhere, don't get anything. And I'm like, well, there's a lot of service industry workers that depend on tips. And if you don't do anything on Friday, you're going to actually hurt a lot of those people. Um, Near and dear to my heart, I work at a locally owned restaurant in Covington, called Amerasia, and I work Friday night. And if we don't have any patrons, then that directly impacts my salary as my money as well as everybody else that works there. So if you're going to go out, if you're going to buy something, make sure that you're going to a locally owned small business, not a big corporate chain, and use cash if at all possible. That
Yeah,
way, there aren't any credit card fees that get paid to the big credit card companies.
right, right. All of the above.
Yep.
Um, and there will be more, though. What is coming up, what I have seen as far as these attempts at having an economic impact is kind of a rolling schedule
Right.
of places not to support. Like I know
Right.
there's either a month or a week or
There's
whatever
a
coming
week.
up where it's like
So
everybody, yeah,
yeah, I've got the
everybody.
schedule right here. So
Oh,
it's,
okay, great.
yeah, yeah. March 7th through the 14th is Amazon boycott. So don't make any Amazon purchases, March 7th through the 14th. March 21st through the 28th is the Nestle boycott. In April 7th through the 14th is Walmart. April 18th is the second economic blackout that's planned. And then April 21st through the 28th is General Mills boycott. And we'll mention these as we approach these weeks and remind everybody about them and talk a little more about specifically what's being asked in each of those.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. And we'll also put, any kind of graphics up on any of our social media um platforms so that people can check for them there as well.
yeah.
So,
And one of the goal, we talked about several weeks ago, we've talked about protests this time have to be a little different. There has to be a goal in mind. And the goal of these protest actions is about solidarity and sending a clear message that we, the people, actually have the power. We have the economic power of what happens in this country, as long as we stick together en masse.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I I mean, it's just so sad that Tesla is taking such a hit right now.
Yeah, that's just terrible. I hate that.
And it's international. I mean, it's not just nationally. It's everywhere. I don't know if you saw it or not. There's this awesome picture that a
Are you talking
friend.
about the bus stop in London?
Yes. And see, I have a very, very, very good friend that lives in England who I talk to daily,
Mhm.
who sent me that picture. And just to kind of give people a visual, it takes up almost the entire side of one of those bus stop places.
Bus stop
But
shelter.
there you go. I like the word shelter better because
Yeah.
that describes it. So it takes up almost the entire side. And it has a picture of a Tesla with Elon Musk. It appears as if he's popping out of the top of this Tesla, and it's him doing the Nazi salute that he did.
Hmm.
And the text of it is goes from 0 to 1939 in 3 seconds. And
That's
then at the bottom it says Tesla, the swastika. And I'm just like, oh, I'm loving the people, the
that's
activists
brilliant.
in other countries that certainly are being very creative with what's going on.
Right. And I think it's important to, while obviously what's happening affects people here in the United States, very severely, the this stuff has global reaches. I mean, for a lot of people, this affects the entire world. The USAID bullshit, you know how
Right,
many everyday people in the poorest countries in the world are going to be hurt and are going to die because of that.
right, right. Well, and it also, affects the economy in all of these other countries
Hmm.
because their people are losing their jobs too. So it
Yep.
raises the unemployment in other countries, not just here.
Yeah.
Um, so, keeping my being able to keep an eye on things and hear from somebody directly from somebody over there, like, what when you talk to your friends and family, or when
Right.
she lives outside of London, and I'm like, when you
Right.
travel to London and you go to various places, what's the vibe? What are you hearing? What are you seeing? And for the most part, and what the feedback that I've gotten from her is that people in these other countries, while they're concerned, for everything overall, they're very concerned about, you know, we everyday Americans and how it's affecting us on,
Hmm.
on on a daily basis with everything that we're going through. There's that sense of allyship and camaraderie and
Yeah.
care that no matter how much this new, American Nazi Party tries to get us to live a life of, just nationalism. The United States is not an island. It cannot exist in a vacuum. We rely on other countries too heavily for so many different things that just aren't available in the United States.
Yeah.
And the reason they're not available isn't because of lack of American ingenuity or laziness or anything else. You know, something's got to grow in a tropical climate, which we
Right.
don't have here in the United States.
Yeah.
You,
I mean, and isolationism, the last time America went this hard into isolationism, we ended up with two world wars.
right.
I mean, it, if anybody has actually paid attention in history, that was what led us directly into World War One, was the isolationism of America.
Right.
So, yeah. Yeah,
I
I
just
going back to the Elon thing, I saw somebody else and I stole this from somebody else. Elon Musk gets a lot of hate, but it's not enough. We can do better.
well, it's just like, come on. Come on. Doge is not a real department.
Yep.
Departments have to be established by Congress,
Yep.
and their internal structure has to be designed by Congress. It
Yep.
cannot be done by executive order fiat,
Hmm.
right? We have no kings in this country. We have no dictators in this country.
We have dicks and we have taters.
God, you're on a roll today, my friend. Um, so you know, the concern is valid because it's constitutional.
Yeah.
Um,
So
it is
South,
what it is.
I'm sorry. So
That's all right.
South Africa does not have the market cornered on nut jobs. We in the state of Kentucky, in the county of Boone,
Oh God.
have one of our very own newly minted nut jobs, TJ Roberts.
You know, I'm so sick of giving him attention. On the other hand, we can't afford not to pay attention and give it to him.
Yeah,
I,
the
I just
crazy is strong with him.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's so hard because I want to know what is wrong with him because no I just no normal 26-year-old thinks this way. You know, this year there are a record number of bills that have been filed this session. Over 800. I mean, that is like cuckoo cuckoo crazy,
yeah,
especially in a short year where there's only a 30-day session. You know, less than half of those bills are going to make it to committee, and then you're going to probably half it again in terms of what's going to make it to the full chambers for a vote.
yep.
I, but being the overachiever that he is, apparently, Mr. Roberts has filed 25% of these bills himself, or
Damn.
somewhere in the neighborhood of that.
So that's
So,
like a couple hundred bills by one
right,
person.
right, over 200.
That is mental.
Or we'll just be nice and say around 200.
Yeah.
Um, it's daunting because you know damn well he didn't think these things up in 15 freaking days.
Oh no.
You know, he came on a mission, and as one of Massie's nasties, we really need to put that picture out there.
Yeah.
Um, you know, it's like I feel like he walked in to the chamber, got sworn in, opened if he carries a briefcase. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he carried a giant lunchbox. But anyway, he just opened it up and plopped 200 bills on the table. Like I feel like he was that ready
Yeah.
with the crazy. It's just news of the level of crazy is dripping out because there is so much. So we want to talk about three of them in particular.
Okay.
I'm gonna I'm gonna need your help on the guns bills.
Oh, I got you.
Just like I can't
You
even.
know me and my guns. I love my
Yeah,
guns.
you take care of those. I'll take care of the medical related ones.
I got the amosexuals.
Uh, truly, I mean this just
He basically has submitted the Kama Sutra of ammunition. The Kama Sutra of weapons.
50 shades of ammunition.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, wow.
All right,
So,
which one are we talking about first?
more power to you. Take your pick.
You state the bill and I'll talk about it. Which one you want to talk about first? You introduce it.
Okay. Wait a minute. I gotta find him again. Dang
You
it. I
See, we talked about this before. You're
I
supposed to have all this
know.
stuff ready.
I know. I'm sorry. My one of my windows got closed because
Ah,
I
gotcha.
I had so many open. Hold on. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Okay. So we have HB 667. That's House Bill 667 to nullify the National Firearms Act.
Yep.
Now, can we just start with the fact that a state cannot nullify anything at the federal level?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's somewhere in that constitutional document.
Right. I anyway, so
Yeah, basically what it like you said, it talks about that. Any firearm that's manufactured in Kentucky is not to be subject to any federal law or regulation. Most importantly, they have to have made in Kentucky stamped on them. That's the most important thing.
no, no, let's get into the list of what this includes because I had to look some of this stuff up because I was
Yep.
like, what does that mean? It's like
Yeah.
just crazy.
So it includes SBRs, short barreled rifles. Those are rifles with barrels less than 16 inches, less than 16 inches or 12 inches. I don't remember which one, 12 or 16 inches. Um, SBSs, short barrel shotguns, those are with barrels less than 18 inches. So, we want to make sure that you can carry sawed-off shotguns because they're easier to conceal, and that makes all of us feel safer. It also includes AOWs. AOWs, the very cleverly titled All Other Weapons. I kid you not, that is literally what it means. AOW means all other weapons, and that refers to such useful items as knives that have a pistol built into the handle of the knife.
And it also it and this bill also includes machine guns.
Yes.
My God. I this is going to show my age, but you say machine gun, and the first thing I think of is the mafia in Chicago.
Oh,
You
you're
know,
thinking Tommy guns. No, these are like short ones. These are short machine guns. These are like if you've ever watched The Matrix, the original Matrix,
yeah, yeah.
when they get all the guns, he has like two machine guns strapped underneath his coat, hidden underneath his coat,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
and he whips those out, and they're like just slightly bigger than his hands, but they're fully automatic. Those count as AOWs, all other weapons. So as long as those are made in Kentucky and they're stamped made in Kentucky, this bill would say they should not be subject to any federal regulation.
So what you're saying is he wants to turn Kentucky into the Matrix. I don't know. I'm just
Yeah, but
like,
not in the good, cool way.
right? I mean,
In the horrific, let's kill lots of people way.
yes, yes, yes. And then, of course, he included another bill to go along with this, which is HB 686. That's House Bill 686, which is based on the Texas Suppressor Freedom Act.
Well, this is a safety measure for hearing protection.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. See, if you put a suppressor on the gun, then you won't be able to hear the bullets, and that's going to save your hearing. I'm sure that was the intent of that.
I mean, my God, I, why, why does anything, what seems like a million years ago, and was probably, less than a blink of an eye ago, when you had this big shift in the NRA.
Hmm.
Because I remember when the NRA was fully supportive of the idea of, you know, gun violence protection
Oh,
laws.
it was about responsible gun ownership
Yes,
and training. And I
yes,
when I was a kid, I was a member of the NRA.
yes, yes. And, and then as things started to shift, not only trying to use the Second Amendment in a blanket way in which it was never intended. If you read any history book surrounding the Second Amendment, you would know this. But that's what they claim. Oh, I got my Second Amendment right, and they feel like it means there's no restrictions whatsoever.
Yeah,
But once
they like to gloss over the well-regulated militia portion of the Second Amendment.
Well, not only that, I mean, my God, Anton Scalia, one of the
The well
most
the well-known
conservative,
progressive bastion.
one of the most conservative human beings to ever sit on the Supreme Court, cautioned the the judgment that Thomas Massie often celebrates, where they gave more freedom with the ability to own and carry guns and everything. Because even he said this is not an absolute. This is not in every situation, and they just don't care. They want to shred every bit of it, and just anybody, anywhere, at any time can walk around like Dirty Harry, or in the case of Savannah Maddox, I guess it would be Dirty Sally, whatever. And just anybody can claim anything was in self defense.
Right.
It, I just I
But these are the most important problems we have to deal with in Kentucky right now.
exactly. I mean, we
We
are
infrastructure's perfect,
right.
you
I
know,
mean, you're
housing, there are no housing issues. We have affordable housing for everybody. There's no fentanyl issue, no healthcare problems, uh,
right,
no massive flooding disasters in Kentucky.
right.
Everything's just peachy
There's
keen.
right, and we're not facing the possibility of losing billions of dollars in federal funding. And not only am I talking about education, talking about Medicaid.
Hmm.
For the state of Kentucky, Medicaid is the area we get the most federal dollars for.
Yep.
You take away Medicaid, you take away the funding for Medicaid, our surplus for the state of Kentucky is gone in order to have any kind of Medicaid system. If you think every single one of those legislators in Frankfurt isn't freaking out, you ain't paying attention. Because they are. They're freaking out regardless of party, especially when it comes to how we're going to handle this if this all goes down the way it's being discussed.
Yeah.
So,
And interesting on the Medicaid thing. So one of our Indivisible members um, called Massey's office today and just sent a message saying that the person that first they actually got to speak to an actual person, which is nice.
yeah,
But but the person told her, and of course we'll have to take this with a grain of salt, that Massey is planning to vote no on the proposed budget with the Medicaid cuts.
Yeah, he's already come out and said that publicly in a variety of places, but he's not doing it out of the goodness of his heart, and he's not doing it for anything related to the Medicaid.
Well, he has no
He
heart, so he can't do it
well,
out of the goodness
he's
of that.
doing remember, everything with him goes back to ideology.
Right.
And he's doing it because, as we've been trying to explain to people, it raises both the debt and deficit.
Yep.
It raises the debt ceiling in order to accommodate those something ridiculous like $1 trillion in tax breaks for the billionaire class.
Yep.
In the end, what happens with that is, the tax breaks that had been previously put in for the middle class, those are expired. Those aren't coming back. But they're going to make sure they cover the billionaires. And the way that they're doing that is on the backs of the working poor.
Right.
Because the deepest cuts are planned for Medicaid as
Hmm.
well as other social service programs. They don't care if free school lunches goes away. They don't care if poor people have no health care. They care about those tax breaks. The only thing that Thomas Massie stands on, which at least in this case works in our favor, is that Republicans are putting forth a budget bill that raises both the debt and the deficit, the things that they continually claim they're against.
Yep.
And yet they never go higher than when Republicans are in charge of the budget.
Yep. Yep. So let's see. There was one more bill by back circling back to TJ Roberts. There was one more bill.
No, there's two.
Oh, two more? Oh,
Yes. They're both medical related.
okay. 'Cause- Putting his medical degree to work here.
Oh, yeah, one of them is HB 469, House Bill 469. This is an anti mRNA vaccine bill, making them prohibiting them in the state of Kentucky.
Oh, lovely.
What is so horrific about this? First off, the reason that this is even a thing is related to COVID vaccines and all the conspiracy theory bullcrap that's out there, unsupported by science. But the other thing that people don't understand when these bills are written and proposed and looked at without anybody with any kind of expertise, giving input is this: there are clinical trials that are ongoing, as well as going to start soon for things like cancer and HIV, in which these mRNA vaccines are used. So this isn't just a ha ha, I own the libs, ha ha, I'm going to get rid of the COVID vaccines. This has to do with a direct impact on real people suffering real disease for whom this treatment could be life saving.
Yep.
And one of those, I'm going to use myself. I am a pancreatic cancer survivor,
Hmm.
which is one of the rarest categories that there is.
Yep.
Pancreatic cancer typically isn't found until people are late stage 3, at which point the most that can happen is palliative care.
Yeah. I've
I
had a couple of friends die from pancreatic cancer, and it is a horrible, horrible thing.
and excruciatingly painful.
Yep.
I was exceptionally fortunate for it to have been found so early. And it it was accident. It was happenstance that it
Hmm.
was found. But this is something that affects people like me. This is something that affects, all of the people who, you know, even if they're not suffering from it now, I want you to imagine the people that have that history in their family tree and are worrying by the time they get to a certain age whether or not this is going to affect them. These treatments can help these people. Why would you end all of that? Why would you disrupt medical care when you know absolutely nothing about it?
And
And even when the fact based science is presented to you, you try to argue that it's wrong.
I think it's getting, I think in a lot of people's minds, it gets confused and conflated with, because it's genetic material, that it's dealing with embryos.
Oh,
And
Lord.
honestly, I think that's where it comes from. So anything that has genetic in it, oh, that must be something terrible.
Right, right. I get that. I mean, I don't, but I do.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the only way that's the only way I can see somebody getting to that point. Of course, I still have, like some thinking ability. So, um,
All right, last one from him for now that we're going to discuss for now is House Bill 668, HB 668. Is a bill related to ivermectin specifically. You remember what ivermectin is, right?
yeah, that's the anti-parasitic that Trump was saying, hey, everybody should take this for COVID,
Right.
even though
Totally
COVID has nothing to do with parasites. But
right. Well, and I mean, every physician on the planet was trying so hard to counteract this just I won't even qualify it as misinformation. It was just flat out bullshit.
yep.
And so he has proposed this bill that makes it illegal for pharmacists in Kentucky to not fill a prescription for ivermectin.
Well, I don't know if they've changed the wording because I'm looking at the wording of the bill right now, 668.
Hmm.
And it says to create a new section of Kentucky Revised Statute to permit the sale or purchase of ivermectin that's been approved for human use without a prescription.
Oh,
So they want to make it over the counter available.
wait, read that again. It's changed from what I had seen it. Go say that again.
Permit the sale or purchase of ivermectin that's been approved for human use without a prescription from a practitioner.
Oh, so anybody can go out and buy it and use
Right,
it for whatever they want. Oh my God.
right. Like aspirin, just
Uh,
over the counter.
yeah. See, this is just crazy. I
Right.
mean, just we have no business. Legislators have no business getting into these areas without expert testimony.
Hmm.
And if you find some wackadoodle that somehow tripped into an MD that is going to testify in Frankfurt that these bills are acceptable, by God, I want to be there
Yep.
because
That's
there
interesting.
ain't no way.
It's interesting. Right now, this is sitting in the Committee on Committees. So this hasn't even gone to I would assume it would go to the Health Committee. But right now, since it was introduced on the 18th, it's been sitting in the Committee on Committees, waiting to be assigned to the next step.
And hopefully it won't be. And we talked about this at our meeting on Sunday that there is a just pile, pile of bills sitting in the House Committee on Committees and in the Senate Committee on Committees,
Hmm.
just waiting to see if they are in fact going to be sent to a committee in order to be read and heard and voted on this, that, and the other thing, or are they just going to hold them and not send them anywhere, so that which means they would basically
Right.
die there. But my terror is that there are a ginormous number of these that are going to hit at the
Mhm.
very last minute and be voted through in a votorama style day in Frankfurt, where people have virtually no ability to give input on them.
Yep. What was that?
That's my
Was that 2017 that they did that?
tw- 2018 was the sewer bill.
Okay. That was when they did the big votorama and they just like they did the sewer bill and this is what again we've talked about the sewer bill where they had a sewer bill and they completely took all the language out of it that related to sewers and replaced it with a bunch of bullshit about educators and education and they can do that because they can do whatever they want. Um, yeah. Yeah, I think we may see one of those coming up as we get towards the end of this this regular session before the veto period.
Well, that's what I'm afraid of. And, you know, it's really, really a non transparent and completely shitty way
Hmm.
to run the legislature, because the average person in Kentucky cannot possibly keep up with all of this. And even when you try, when they deliberately hold everything back until the last possible minute, it prevents constituent ability to have a say.
Right. That's the goal.
Right. And I want to be perfectly clear. I'm not just talking about our Republican supermajority, although I do believe they have perfected it to an art form.
Yeah,
You know,
but the
this was
Democrats do it too.
this was common practice before Democrats lost, both chambers. This happened before too. It's just like I said, we kind of looking at the new and improved, super, supercharged turbo version of it. I don't know.
Supercharged.
There you go. I don't
Supercharged.
know why I tripped over that word. I'm just like, yeah, it is what it is. It crazy. It cray cray. I like that. It cray cray, and it's hard to keep up with.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. So that's the fun going on this week. And yeah. So lots going on as always. If you want to see what's going on with the legislature, you can go to the LRC, Legislative Research Commission. That's legislature.ky.gov. You can track the committees and the bills and see what status they are. I know I was talking to Ann the other day. I said, I might put together a little video real quick of how to use the LRC website to track a bill that are in different committees, especially because that's something that we've asked people to do. And so I'm going to start working on that and should have that out hopefully next week. That's my plan.
That would be great. That
Yeah.
would be great. I mean, at one of the meetings we did a walkthrough, but again, I, I cannot overstate how quickly we are growing. And with new people constantly coming in. So it'd be great to have a video of that we'll have around that we can put on our YouTube channel so that anybody can go watch it at any time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't
Cool.
wait. I'm actually excited about you doing that.
Good.
We
Good.
still haven't done our first TikTok video together yet.
No.
That's that's another thing that's coming up that we've been talking about,
Yeah.
um, which should be hilarious.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I mean, it's one thing to do these things with you audio, but when I see your face and we're talking about things, it always just magnifies my response.
Oh yeah. It'll be a good time. So where we are in the legislative calendar before we wrap up, today is we're recording this on Tuesday, the 25th of February, day 17 of the regular session. Um, the regular session legislature goes through, well, March 12th is the last regular day. The 13th and 14th are for concurrence. March 13th and 14th are concurrence. That's where they try to iron out differences between the Senate and the House versions.
Right.
Then the 15th of March starts the veto period, which runs through the 26th of March. And then the 27th and the 28th are days 29 and 30 of the session when they can override vetoes. Sine die is at close of business on the 28th of March. Drink them if you got them.
You mean year three
Yeah,
of, of
yeah,
year?
The year of March.
Yes, the
So
year of March.
yeah,
And it at this point it seems like it is 100 years away, and that
yeah.
we have more than 13 working days left in the
Hmm.
legislature. It's daunting,
Yeah.
daunting.
So
As always, please make your daily phone calls. Be calling Senator McConnell's office, Senator Rand Paul's office, and Congressman Thomas Massie, addressing the important issues that we talk about all the time, letting your voice be heard,
yep.
making sure that your response is recorded, and requesting when will you hear back. I can't stress that enough.
Yeah, you have to ask to hear back.
Yes, you do.
Now,
Yes, you do.
if you ask to hear back, they have to they have to give you some sort of answer to that.
Yes,
It,
I'm still waiting for my response.
yeah, we know what your response is, Anne.
Oh,
All right,
what
everyone.
a way to end.
Yeah, everyone have a great week. Hang in there. Keep fighting the fight. If you need to know how to get involved, reach out to us. We have lots of ways to get you involved and would love to help you out there. Until then, this is Roberto Henriquez.
And Dickerson.
Have a good one. Bye.